Hello loves, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Taíno lineage and tracing your lineage with or without DNA, because I did get a question on this on my last Taíno video that I made a couple of, I want to say a week ago or so. So I wanted to talk about this because it's something that is very, very important. But before we do, I just want to remind everybody. So number one, the new workshop was just posted today. So this is going to be the part 2 of healing the healing generational trauma, part of the ancestor work series that I'm doing. This is going to be part 2, and it's all about healing the patriarch, which is your patriarchal line. It is your paternal line, and it's going to cover a lot of things. Definitely check out the link below to get more information as far as what we're covering, but we are going to be doing another 1-hour meditation, as well as some other things, and there is another workbook coming out because we are doing a whole ancestral workshop series. So if you missed part 1 and you want to know what you want to do part 1, you can still access that to the Patreon. Because the Patreon members at the High Priestess level get access to all of my past workshops. So highly recommend, because it's just a really cool perk if you wanted to like binge watch and study and do the meditations and all of the things that we've done in the past. You can feel free to do so. The link will be down below. Now, the second announcement that I have, the book, which is all about the Taíno language, is out again. So it just got more copies were made. I can't say republished. I mean, yeah, technically, but more copies have been made, y'all, basically. So it's been sold out for a minute because it got sold out really quickly the first couple times around, but it was just more copies were made. So if you wanted to get your hands on Hiwatahia, you can find the information. I'm gonna have so I'm gonna just like insert a clip here of where you can go. Miyari, I just wanted to let everybody know that the Hiwatahia language book is officially restocked. It sold out a couple of times, but I was given the green light by my tukudas to let you guys know that it is available for purchase. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna go to the Taíno one-on-one group on Facebook. For your convenience, I have linked it in my link tree. It is the first link in my link tree. The group is open to join for everybody, and it has different Taíno elders from different tribes. So it is also a great resource to learn. But you're going to find this post, it should be the second post right now, by Thomas. You're going to shoot Thomas a message through Messenger and just follow the instructions up here. Definitely get your hands on it as soon as you can, because it will sell out. What you're gonna do is you're going to go, and I'm gonna have the link down below as well. You're gonna go to the Taíno one-on-one page on Facebook, and you're just gonna message Thomas, who is in charge of just mailing these out. So if you want to get your hands on the book, just go on the Taíno 101 Facebook group, which is a public group, which has different elders from multiple tribes, which is why it's a great place. It's a good group to join. So if you wanted to get more information and like learn about different things, ask different elders across different tribes and stuff like that, great place to join. This has thousands of people in there. So definitely recommend, but that's where you will find Thomas, and you're just going to message him through Facebook, and send him the payment through there and all of that jazz. So yeah, so definitely make sure that you get your hands on the book, because it will sell out. It sells out every single time that it gets republished, or that more copies are made. Anyway, with that being said, we're gonna get into this video. So how to trace back Taíno lineage. So this is definitely something that I feel like depends on the person. As part of the Reconnecting Taíno series that we're also doing, because we are, talking about how to reconnect, if that's something that you wanted to do, whether it is you just want to learn about your roots and learn, like foundational things, or if you actually wanted to become and be part, be a tribal enrolled member as well. So when it comes to tracing back, there's different ways that you can, go about this. When it comes to getting a DNA test, while I definitely recommend getting a DNA test just to confirm that you have DNA that is tied to this land, just on a scientific level, I would recommend getting a DNA test at one point. I know the question that I got for this question was like, I don't know if I want to take a DNA test, and I understand that, but if you want to verify if you actually have the thing, you should at least scientifically have that information available. Like, hey, oh yeah, it's in my ancestry. At least you can confirm it that way. However, there are other ways to trace back Taíno lineage. And it's a very deep dive on records. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is, depending on the island that you are looking at. So if you're looking at, for example, Puerto Rico just did recently a really cool thing where they put public records online so you could access them online. So if you're in the diaspora, you're able to kind of put in your information and start tracing back that way. The other governmental bodies of the other islands have not done this. So the only way to kind of go about going through the public records is actually to go to the island itself and then trace back public record, like the records themselves, while you're in the islands, which can get, a little tricky as far as like, hey, like let's say you have family over there in whichever island that it is, and you're trying to trace public records. You're going to want to look at like last names. You want to like get you want to go through your family, get like different like the names from each side. You want to look at both sides, and you want to start kind of making like the family tree situation so you could see where things are heading. One of the things that I did while I was tracing back my Taíno lineage was that I was asking my family members, okay, how did this person visibly appear? Because when it comes to like the islands, especially within the Spanish language, we would identify ourselves by color. So if somebody like, especially government wise, they will be like, oh, this person's like indiecito, like that, which would translate to someone who looks like the Indian tone, like the yellow, like kind of almost brown like tone. And so they would describe them in the actual like records. They don't do this anymore, depending on the island, but they would describe them like, oh, this person is indiecito, or this person is blanquito, or like they look a little bit lighter or whatever. So they'll describe them by the actual like, the character, within the caste system, what it would be. And so you want to pay attention to those keywords, because when you see someone is being described that way, a lot of the time, that would be a little like, asterisk, like, oh, note, this person was visibly indigenous, visibly indigenous. So you're going to want to jot that down, and you want to use the information that you're getting government-wise. Sometimes it's not going to always match. That's the other thing. So keep that in mind. There's certain, within different islands, we go by nicknames sometimes, with like your government name will be like half your nickname and stuff. And sometimes it's like my grandfather had a specific nickname throughout his whole life, but his legal name is different. So it's like, when it came to connecting it legally, you have to keep an eye out for those things as well. And it's definitely a little bit of a journey, and it takes a lot of patience for you to kind of cross check certain things. But you're going to want to go through the government records. You're going to also, and you should be doing this as you are also kind of interrogating your own family a little bit, which is part of the process of reconnecting, is really diving into your family history, seeing what connections your own family has to the heritage, and what has been passed down, because different families have different, things that are passed down. Some families don't actually even have that, lineage at all, and weren't passed down anything. So this is why you want to confirm things with DNA, just to be like, oh, you know what? I know I have it there. Maybe the information got lost in translation when this person married that person at one point. Something maybe happened, but you can still at least have a sense of, you're like putting the pieces of the puzzle together, which is a process. I know it's a process, but we do have to do the work in order to understand the lineage better. And so it's important to kind of understand like the basics of the thing. And so when you're doing your family tree, write down, okay, my grandma describes her mother or her father as this skin tone, or they were this, or they said they were specifically this, if they can describe what the side, which ancestry it was, and start jotting that down with their names, with their birth information, if you can get their birth information. And then you're going to want to go into the public records island by island which can take some time. Again, Puerto Rico, it is available. They just launched that. There's a link for that. So it is available publicly, so you can start, you know, looking at things within the diaspora. But the other government bodies have not done this yet. So you would have to, you know, go through your family and go through and, you know, access it that way. If you are someone that does not have, like you're from one of the islands, whether it be Jamaica or Cuba or whatnot, but obviously, like, especially for Cuba, you ain't getting no public records. Obviously there's like technicalities, or maybe you got adopted, or maybe your parents passed, or you don't have, you know where your family is from, but you don't know, like, you don't have any ties specifically. It can get a little bit difficult to get information that way. If you can get your parents' names and start tracing back the data like that way, that can kind of like give you a little bit of a bigger understanding as to what is what, and like, okay, I know this name, and their parents of this parents was this person, and at least within the public records you'll be able to see how they were identified in that time as well, so you can kind of start piecing things together. But it definitely makes it a little bit more complicated, so you're just gonna have to like pace yourself with it. But also don't get, don't feel bad about like, okay, you know what, I kind of was put in a predicament and I don't have that familiar connection, but I know I have the ancestry and I'm connected to the land or whatnot. You can still part of reconnecting is connecting back to your people. So regardless of the fact of, whether or not there was that, you don't have that familiar connection, when, you come through and you decide to join one of the Yucayecas, one of the tribes, you're coming back to your family, because we would be family, right? We're all family. So, no worries in that regard. But when it comes to like, you want to be certain, you want to have like receipts and stuff like that, you do have to go through like the paperwork, which can be a little bit tedious, but I do recommend a DNA test if you want to verify things. There's gonna be times where your parents could have, like, let's say your parents get a DNA test and they have Taíno DNA, but then you didn't come out with any. That happens. DNA tests, when it comes to percentages and stuff like that, we don't do blood quantum over here, but the DNA percentages and all that kind of stuff is very flawed. But it's just the haplo group that you want to look at. You want to make sure that it's still, you have, if it's connected to the American continents, then you are native. And if you know where your family is from, then okay, I'm from, insert island here. I know the peoples of the indigenous people of this island were X, Y, C, and B. So I know that that's where that comes from. So I do recommend getting a DNA test. It's one of those things, but I do recommend it just so you have that, like you're never questioning yourself about it. Like, I do recommend that. Just don't trust the percentages. That thing is, it's just not, it's not real. A lot of it's like educational guesses on the part of the people who have the DNA companies. It's just the haplogroups that you want to look at, really. But yeah, I recommend doing it that way. There are some cool DNA, service providers that actually, for example, there's one, I cannot remember the name right now. This just came to me, or else I would have looked it up before. But there's one that's specifically for Latin America, for Latinos, and it basically tries to tie into which tribe you would have been in, or your family is ancestrally connected to, based on trade routes and stuff like that. It's really, really, really cool. I cannot remember the name of it right now, but I'm sure that if you Google it, it should come up. But I highly recommend doing something like that, because I've seen people's DNA tests where it literally tells them like, oh, I have not only this tribe but that tribe, and I can see the connection to it, like how they were, the root and how they used to trade together, and as you were studying and getting your history and everything like that, you'll be able to kind of put two and two together. So I do recommend doing that. I'm glad that that's kind of like something, like a service, because there's also Taínos that are also part of the Mesoamerican tribes, whether it be Nahuatl or Mexica, or there's we did trade. Those were the closest people to us as like Taínos. Those were the closest people to us. We were trading with them all of the time. So they're our cousins, quite literally. But you can also have that ancestral blend as well. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, I hope that this helped to kind of give some sort of understanding as far as how to trace it back. You're gonna definitely need to, if you do have the familial connections, interrogate the hell out of your family. The older they are, the better, because they'll have more age and connections to other members of the family that could have witnessed things, whether it been stories, whether it been things that are passed down, or whether it been just the description of the other like peoples within your family. So you can kind of understand, okay, this person was this and this person was that, and this person would be classified as mestizo, and mestizo being half indigenous, half like Spanish. So like you can kind of start getting an understanding of, okay, this is the classification of this, so that means that this ancestor was this, and you can start kind of doing your family tree and understanding your lineage a little bit better. So yeah, so I hope that this video helped. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for all your help, all your support, and just all of the things that you guys do for me. You guys are amazing. I will definitely see you loves in the next video. Have a very blessed night. Bye.